Part 90. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 891. Boy, why are you running? The Dragon King asked with a dark expression on his face. Perhaps it was because Chen Tianqiao caught Zuyun that he was not completely angry. Zuyun felt a little uneasy and said cautiously, "Senior Dragon Emperor, you three powerful men are chasing this kid. Can you not run away? This kid has just broken through the divine transformation stage." Zuyun was crying, but he was actually multitasking. In addition to observing the expressions of these three powerful men through the gaps in the shadows, he was also paying attention to the mystery of the shadows. It's also because his soul is strong enough, otherwise he would never be able to do it. Humph, the Dragon King snorted. He also realized that Zuyun was telling the truth and said instead, "Boy, where did you come from?" "Senior Dragon King, the young one comes from the mortal world." Zuyun said truthfully, he knew that he belonged to the East mortal realm, but he was just not used to saying it like this. "The mortal realm, is it the Eastern mortal realm?" The Dragon King said calmly, and without waiting for Zuyun's reply, he continued, "You are a human monk, why do you have the aura of the 11 clans of monsters in your body? But you went to Dongsheng realm not long ago." The Dragon King is wise. Zuyun was shocked. He didn't expect that the Dragon King was looking for him for this matter. He felt relieved and flattered him, and then said, "After the boy left Dongsheng realm, he went to the spirit world is here, and it hasn't been long since we arrived." "Hey, little guy, you broke through the divine transformation stage not long after you arrived. You have a good talent. Are you interested in becoming my apprentice?" The Zhangdao master spoke at an inappropriate time. He was so close that Zuyun only felt a stench. He couldn't help but feel a little shocked. Dragon Emperor and Chen Tianqiao had previously said they wanted to reminisce with him. "Dirty thing, I have something to do with you. You want to recruit a disciple? Let's talk about it later." The Dragon Emperor glared at Zhangdao Venerable with dissatisfaction, and then said, "Little guy, if that's the case, then you must have been to the ancestral land of the Dragon clan. Have you got the dragon suppressing stone left by me?" The dragon suppressing stone has been hiding in Zuyun's forearm, so he naturally heard what the Dragon King said. But at this time, how can Zhenlong Stone have the grand ambitions of the past? He couldn't even beat Zuyun. Forget about the Dragon King. Yes, yes. Zuyun also didn't expect that the Dragon King was looking for the dragon suppressing stone. Logically speaking, the dragon suppressing stone would be of little use to the Dragon King now, right? The situation was unclear at the moment, so Zuyun didn't think much about it. His heart condensed slightly, and a red light glowed between his forearms. Then, a red stone flew out. The dragon suppressing stone had a spirit, but he didn't dare to reveal it. He let the Dragon King hold the stone, played with it for a while, and then stuffed it into his arms. "Little guy, I think you and I are both from the Eastern mortal realm, and you have brought with you the things I left behind. I can exchange a treasure with you from my treasure house." As Chen Tianqiao said, Zuyun was surprised that the Demon Dragon Emperor would actually do this. But in this case, the dragon suppressing stone will be taken away. He knows a lot of his secrets. Zuyun was extremely nervous and his mind was spinning rapidly. Compared to the unknown treasure, Zuyun would rather hold the known dragon suppressing stone in his own hands. "If I had known earlier, I would have thrown the dragon suppressing stone into the dragon transformation pond and soaked it. At least it would be better to turn into a stone demon dragon and stay in the immortal mansion than to be taken away by the Demon Dragon Emperor. Hey, boy, the Dragon King has collected a lot of mysterious treasures. What's the use of a piece of broken stone? Why don't you make a request quickly?" Chen Tianqiao reminded him with a smile. Zuyun suddenly woke up. "Yes, break the stone." Since the dragon suppressing stone did not show his stone demon dragon body and it was extremely hidden, he probably didn't want the demon dragon king to know about it. That's right, the dragon suppressing stone wants to attract him, and what attracts him is the Hualong Pond. If that's the case, what's there to worry about? Dragon suppressing stone, wait until I am strong enough, and then I will find a way to get you back from the dragon demon emperor. Zuyun had made a decision in his heart, and at the same time he thought about what he wanted to ask for. Dragon, senior dragon emperor, he deliberately pretended to be cautious and said, as long as you have it, will you give it to me? Of course, the dragon demon emperor said proudly, I am the body of a demon dragon. These treasures are not of much use to me. They are just collections and hobbies. You can tell me what role you want the treasures to play, whether it is attack or defense. I can definitely find one for you. Of course, treasures from heaven and earth are also available. Don't even think about elixirs. I'm not in the habit of growing elixirs. Zuyun felt happy, this saved a lot of trouble. He didn't dare to ask for the fragments of the Dewu glazed mirror. But I wonder if Senior Dragon King has any golden spirit beads. That's right, Zuyun is asking for the missing golden Lingzhu. But the Demon Dragon Emperor's answer disappointed Zuyun, I don't have this bead. Little guy, what do you want the golden spirit bead for? Let me see if I can find a substitute for you. But before Zuyun could reply, the Zhangdao Venerable laughed strangely, little guy, do you want the golden spirit bead? As long as you open the golden mouth, this bead will be yours. Zuyun looked and saw a black bead held between the two fingers of Zhangdao Venerable's right hand. There is no golden light at all. Even Zuyun couldn't sense any golden spiritual power. Is this the golden Lingzhu? Zuyun was very suspicious. But Demon Dragon Emperor and Chen Tianqiao both recognized it. Dirty thing, such a fine gold spirit bead, how did you get it so dirty? Chen Tianqiao frowned and asked. But the question of the Demon Dragon King was different, dirty thing, do you want to take this kid as your apprentice? Why, is it not possible? The Zhangdao Venerable threw the golden spirit pearl in his hand, as if this golden treasure was an ordinary item in his hand. He asked back, my Zhangdao is about to be broken, how can I not find a disciple? It just so happens that this kid has just passed the spiritualization stage, and his Yuan Shen has just condensed. It is not a bad idea to turn to Zhangdao. The key is that he can also use wind spiritual power, which is very good. Facing the endless praise of Zhangdao Venerable, Zuyun felt bitter in his heart. 3,000 great ways, why don't I practice any other way, practice your Zhangdao? But the temptation of the golden spirit pearl is too great. Or agree, then pretend to be submissive, and wait until the 5 elements incarnation technique is refined, and then find a way to escape? While he was thinking, the Dragon Demon King suddenly made a move and snatched the black bead, laughing and saying, okay, you dirty thing, this bead belongs to me. Zhangdao Zun was furious, little loach, do you believe that I will cover your whole body in black? It's black, dirty thing, I'm not afraid of your ability. The Demon Dragon King felt very comfortable when he saw Zhangdao Zun was defeated. He threw the golden spirit bead to Chen Tianqiao and said with a smile, fellow Daoist Chen, please pass it to this kid. I dare not touch your Tianxu trap spirit formation. Haha, no problem. Chen Tianqiao took the bead and agreed. The next moment, the bead appeared in the hands of a phantom. And this phantom was facing Zuyun and stretched out his hand. Zuyun took the bead with a blank face and quietly condensed a touch of golden spiritual power to test it. However, the golden spirit bead had no reaction at all. Being cheated? Impossible. The Dragon King and Chen Tianqiao have no ill will towards him. The Zhangdao master wants to accept him as a disciple. Then, could it be that this black dirty thing Blocked the connection between the golden spirit pearl and the outside world? It must be. If no one was watching, Zuyun would definitely throw the golden spirit pearl into the immortal mansion. But now, he can only put it in the storage ring. I hope that the dirt attached to the pearl will not pollute his ring. Little Loach, I can't stand with you, wow wow wow. The Zhangdao master reached out to the Demon Dragon King, but the Demon Dragon King laughed and flashed away, and no one could do anything to anyone. Only Zuyun and Chen Tianqiao were left here. Senior, can you let me go? Zuyun breathed a sigh of relief and said respectfully. Lost the dragon stone, but gained the golden spirit pearl. Now he just wanted to find a place to hide and study how to form a connection with the golden spirit pearl. Not only did he need to fuse the golden spirit pearl, but he also needed to practice the 5 elements incarnation technique. Unexpectedly, Chen Tianqiao smiled slightly. Boy, are you interested in joining my Tianji sect and inheriting my mantle? Zuyun had never heard of the Tianji sect. But he knew that the sect must be a behemoth. What's even more strange is that Zhang Daozun wanted to accept him as a disciple, so why did Chen Tianqiao also accept a disciple? Chen Tianqiao has always been gentle and elegant, with a faint smile on his face, which made Zuyun feel good about him. But he knew the phrase smiling with a knife in his heart. Not to mention, he still has many secrets. Thank you for your kindness, Senior. I dare not. I just want to roam the spirit world and be a free and easy cultivator. Zuyun's polite words made Chen Tianqiao's face turn cold instantly. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 892. Zuyun had a headache. What was wrong with these people in the spirit world? They always wanted people to accept his legacy. Let alone Chen Tianqiao, even the Zhangdao master said the same thing before. Am I so popular? If he had not practiced the 5 elements Chaos Sutra, or if there was no 5 elements sect in the spirit world, Zuyun would be very happy to worship a strong man as his master and become his disciple. At least when walking in the spirit world, he would have more backers. But obviously, it's not possible at this time. Looking at Chen Tianqiao, whose face was getting colder, Zuyun could only rack his brains to think of a way to get out. But this time, not only the surroundings, but also the upper and lower parts were blocked by Chen Tianqiao's phantom. What to do? Time is limited. At most 3 breaths, Chen Tianqiao might take action. Zuyun's mind turned rapidly, and suddenly caught a glimpse of light. Formation. Yes, that's right, it's a formation. Didn't the Zhangdao master say that this phantom was the Tianxu Kunling formation? The trapped spirit trapped the spirit, trapped the spiritual power in the body, so I can't teleport with the power of chaos. Since it is a formation, then you can break the formation and escape. If he is not in the tribulation period, Zuyun is not sure, but judging from the situation of the 3 of them chasing him before, Chen Tianqiao definitely dare not use too much spiritual power to chase him. This is his chance. Thinking of this, Zuyun used the Breaking Void Spirit Eye technique and began to look for the formation pattern of the Tianxu Trapped Spirit formation. As long as the formation pattern is found, the flaw of this formation can be found. But what I didn't expect was that Zuyun just moved slightly, and Chen Tianqiao felt something strange. Boy, do you want to break my formation? His face was no longer as elegant as before, but a touch of disdain. A formation of the tribulation period, a spiritualization period wants to break it? Even if your attainments in the Dao of Chen are far superior to others, the gap in realm is not something you can make up. Chen Tianqiao's words fell into Zuyun's ears, but Zuyun had no intention of responding. Under the Breaking Void Spirit Eyes technique, the array patterns hidden by these phantoms were also slowly discovered by Zuyun. As long as it is an array, there must be array patterns. Zuyun has the strength of the 2 arrays. Although he is still very weak compared to Chen Tianqiao, he has a solid foundation and a firm mind, so he will naturally gain something. Unfortunately, the old ginger is spicy, and Chen Tianqiao does not give him this opportunity. Want to break the array? Then let's see what you can do. As he spoke, these phantoms that were still shaking around him suddenly became solid. The face that could only see the rough outline originally also revealed a hideous face and glared at Zhu Yun. Tianxu, Tianxu. It is both nothingness and illusion. Zhu Yun silently said in his heart that this Tianxu trapped spirit array emphasizes the word illusion. And I will break your illusion. He was unmoved and regarded everything as false, which was beyond Chen Tianqiao's expectation. This boy is so determined and unwilling to be used by our Tianji sect. In this case, let him die. Anyway, he has made a deal with the Dragon Emperor, and this is not an insult to the Dragon Emperor. Chen Tianqiao's heart also cooled down. Zhu Yun's reaction made him know that this boy would definitely have unlimited potential in the future. If he doesn't join the Tianji sect, he will die. Spirit rise. Chen Tianqiao suddenly raised his hand and condensed a touch of spiritual power. This touch was only for him. But for Zhu Yun, it was tantamount to a catastrophe. At the same time, those phantoms also made the same movements, and each phantom also condensed the same spiritual power in its hands. So terrifying. Zhu Yun's eyelids trembled slightly, and when he was about to see whether it was real or false, a dissatisfied voice suddenly came from a distance. Chen Tianqiao, do you want to attack my disciple who has not yet been married? Zhang Daozun. As soon as the voice fell, Zhu Yun's peripheral vision through the gap of the shadow saw a black big hand appear out of thin air and touch Chen Tianqiao's face. Zhu Yun had seen Zhang Daozun take action several times, as if he only had this trick. However, this time, he saw something different. Because he was using the Breaking Void Spirit Eye technique. Zhang Daozun's black hand was actually a kind of attributeless spiritual power attached to it, which made Zhu Yun feel very surprised. Can spiritual power also be attributeless? But after a slight daze, Zhu Yun began to break the formation with all his heart. Zhang Daozun's sudden appearance undoubtedly bought Zhu Yun time. If not broken now, when? Dirty thing, he didn't agree to be your disciple. Chen Tianqiao's angry curse came, obviously seeing that the person he wanted to kill was stopped, which made him extremely angry. What does it have to do with you whether he agrees or not? Anyway, I treat him as my apprentice. The Dragon Emperor just touched me 18 times and ran away. Let's see how long you can hold on. Zhang Daozun stretched out another hand, and moved both hands at the same time, like two dragons playing with a pearl, and touched Chen Tianqiao's cheek at the same time. Chen Tianqiao's body swayed and disappeared on the spot, and Zhang Daozun kicked forward slowly. A black shoe flew out. When Chen Tianqiao appeared, the sole of the shoe just hit his face. Get out of here. Chen Tianqiao was furious, and the moment he stretched out his hand and waved, there was a long sword in his hand. The long sword was black all over, and it was somewhat similar to the Chaos Sword, but the aura revealed on it was extremely majestic. Sharpness was released. This is a peerless spiritual sword. But such a spiritual sword, slashing on the sole of the shoe did not cut the shoe in two, but instead knocked the shoe away intact. Never dispelled any black energy. You hide the dirty things so deeply. Chen Tianqiao was slightly surprised. He, Zhang Dao Venerable smiled strangely and stretched out his foot. The shoe actually flew back to his foot, and then he said, Chen Tianqiao, I hid it, so you didn't hide it? In short, this kid if you like him, even if you want to kill him, you have to get through me first. Laughing all at once, the Zhang Dao Venerable didn't show any face at all. Dirty thing, you want to fight me? Chen Tianqiao looked grim. I didn't say that, you said it yourself. Although you are strong, I have never been afraid of anyone. I have traveled all over the three mortal realms of South, West, North and South, but I have never been to the East mortal realm. If I had encountered this person earlier, boy, what happened today? What's the meaning? Hearing that Zhang Daozun was not joking, Chen Tianqiao couldn't help but was stunned and asked quickly. What do you mean? Then I can't tell you. Anyway, if you don't want to quarrel, just retreat today. Otherwise, I am just a casual cultivator, and your family has a big business. What if I get drunk one day and kill you? If the house is dirty, don't blame me. A naked threat. The dirt in the mouth of the Zhang Dao master is not as simple as being dirty. This is his way. If the dirty roads come to your door, I'm afraid Tianji sect will not be able to live in peace. Dirty thing, Chen has recorded what happened today. Chen Tianqiao knew that he couldn't get any favors from him, so he simply left in a flash. Hee, I'm barefoot and not afraid of wearing shoes. I'm not afraid of your Tianji sect. After saying that, he turned to look at Zuyun, his expression suddenly changed, and he cursed angrily, B*TCH, then you have solved the Tianxu trap spirit formation. How can I stop this kid from being trapped? Only as long as the spiritual power does not dissipate, the Tianxu formation will not be broken. In other words, although Chen Tianqiao did not kill Zuyun, he deliberately left the formation here to annoy the venerable Heart Dao. Zhang Dao master doesn't understand the formation, let alone such a mysterious formation. If he breaks it by force, he is afraid of hurting Zuyun in it. Hey, kid, are you still alive? If you are alive, vent your anger and call someone to save you. Hearing this voice coming from outside the formation, Zuyuning was neither, nor should he be. At this time, there was obviously no crisis for the time being, and Zuyun was naturally happy. As soon as he rolled his eyes, he said, Dirty Senior, you are alive, the boy is alive, please hurry up and call someone. Ha ha ha, just stay alive, just stay alive. Just wait, boy. Although you can't get out of this formation, no one can get in. Just come as a teacher. Having said that, the Zhang Dao master also disappeared out of thin air. Are you really going to call someone? Zuyun muttered. Now no one disturbed him to break the formation, just in time. An hour later, the Zhang Dao master flew over from a distance with a female cultivator under his arm. Huh? I remember that the Tianxu sleeping spirit array was here. Why is it gone? The Tianxu sleeping spirit array is easy to recognize, they are all illusory figures, but there is nothing in the mid-air. Senior, I can't breathe. Can you relax a little bit? It's a nice sound, but it's also hard. Hey, little girl, Zhang Dao Venerable let her go and said, you said you were an array master, now it's time to show off your skills. See, is there an array nearby? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 893. Zhang Dao Venerables live not only 10,000 years, but at least 5,000 years. The female cultivator is a bit of a germaphobe, but after she came up from the mortal world, she met the master of the Zhang Dao. I don't know what happened, but Zhang Dao master captured her. She was not asked to do anything but help wash clothes, socks, and shoes. She said that she was a formation master and could not do this job. But Master Zhang Dao didn't take it to heart at all, and finally remembered it this time. Senior, it seems that there was indeed a formation here, but it was broken. The female cultivator's attainments in the formation path are indeed not shallow. As long as she calms down for a moment, she can sense that there is still some power of formation patterns in the air. After the formation is broken, the spiritual power of the formation pattern will still remain, which is relatively easy to identify. If ordinary spiritual power has no form and floats in the air, then the power of the formation is linear. Over time, these powers dissipate. Zuyun broke the formation not long ago, and Chen Tianqiao's formation did not disperse naturally. As an formation master, she could easily feel such linear spiritual power. Hey, is this really here? The Zhangdao Venerable was overjoyed, and then said, then help me find out where that boy went. I finally found a boy who could be my disciple, how could I let him run away? The female cultivator felt aggrieved and said helplessly, Senior, I can break the formation, but this way of finding someone, you ask me to come to you in the tribulation stage and the nascent soul stage. Isn't this making things difficult for me? That's right, Zhangdao Zhangjiang slapped his forehead, and then said, then you follow me to find someone, and after you find that kid, give him a bath. Follow me Zhangdao, you have to wash him off first. The female cultivator opened her mouth, and it took a long time to say something. Senior, then, what is the level of cultivation of your future disciple? She originally wanted to ask if he was a male cultivator. But he still held back his words. The Zhangdao master has a very strange temper. Not long after she came here, she already felt it deeply. Not to mention anything else, just washing clothes tortured her for a long time. At first, she tried her best to wash the clothes, but the black clothes couldn't be washed away. But Zhangdao Venerable was extremely satisfied. She thought to herself, would the Zhangdao master be more satisfied if she washed it a little cleaner? So she racked her brains and cooperated with the formation, and finally washed the black clothes into gray. As a result, the Zhangdao master became furious and punished her by standing on her head without using her spiritual power for 10 days. You know, this is the spiritual world. Even with her spiritual power, her body could not withstand the pressure of the spiritual power. Doing a handstand without using spiritual power almost made her brain explode. And she didn't know until the punishment was over. Zhangdao master asked her to wash clothes, and he really did wash clothes. Just wash the dirt off your clothes. And those dark things turned out to be her dirty spiritual power. At that time, the female cultivator was only tomorrow. She tried so hard and almost ruined the protective clothing of the Zhangdao master. As long as you don't kill yourself, it's considered a good thing. After surviving the disaster, she became wiser. He seems to be in the integration stage. No, he seems to be in the transformation stage. No matter what stage he is still better than you. The Zhangdao master replied absently, his eyes suddenly lit up, and he said happily, hey, Chen Tianqiao seems to have given him the beads, and those beads have my Zhangdao spiritual power on them. Little girl, do you remember what I told you? The Zhangdao master said again. Remember, remember. Find your future apprentice and give him a bath first to make him clean. The female cultivator took a deep breath. Yes, yes, the Zhangdao Venerable was very satisfied, and suddenly stretched out his hand to hold the female cultivator under his arm. Let's go, I will take you to see my disciple. He looks like a talented person, charming and suave. Sword eyebrows and star eyes. In the midst of the Zhangdao Venerable's thoughts, the two of them flew towards the depths of the outer world in extremely weird postures. Call. Zuyun was a little tired. After coming out of the Xianxia trap spirit formation, he used the thunder escape technique all the way. Almost 200 steps at a time, which is almost more than 1,000 miles. With 24 lotus hearts, the rich spiritual power in his body was enough to sustain him for a long time. The reason why he didn't use teleportation over a longer distance was because he was worried about exposing his own chaos power. After all, the Aoki sect was surrounded by countless powerful seniors. Maybe there is no tribulation period, but not to mention the Mahayana period, the integration period is enough for him to drink a pot. But fortunately, his soul was enough to sustain him for a long time, otherwise he wouldn't have been able to escape this far even if he had no spiritual power. I don't know what the Zhangdao master sees in me. Can't I change it? Zuyun looked around and found a valley. He found that there were no traces of life in it, so he fell down without hesitation. He first took out the golden spirit beads covered by the spiritual power of the Zhangdao, and then deployed 2 formations, and then entered the Diwu glazed mirror. Finally feeling safer, Zuyun sat on the stone bed and repeatedly observed and tested the bead. But no matter what he did, the beads didn't react at all. It's strange, what on earth is this black thing? Zuyun was puzzled. Is it the attributeless spiritual power of Master Zhangdao? Previously when he was in the Xianxia trapped spirit formation, Zhangdao master attacked Xianxia. At that time, he used the Breaking Void Spirit Eye technique and unexpectedly saw that Zhangdao master's spiritual power was attached to his palm. Since it can be like this, does that mean that this non-attributed spiritual power can also be on the golden spirit bead? If it was spiritual power, it would be easier. When Zuyun was about to concentrate and try to use the power of chaos to resolve it, Xiao Hei's voice came from outside the cave. Owner. Zuyun put the beads aside and asked, "What's the matter?" "It's nothing." Xiao Hei scratched his head and didn't know where to start, so he could only say, "How about you come out and take a look?" Zuyun originally thought that Xiao Hei wanted him to see the results of cleaning the immortal mansion, but when he went out, he was shocked. Counting the time, several days have passed in the immortal mansion. Not to mention how it was destroyed by the golden thunder, but now it is completely brand new. Not only were the steps on the Sword Mountain Road restored and the sword power in the sword pond was full again, but the situation in the medicine garden also surprised him. The elixirs in the medicine garden were very quiet. Originally, they all liked to run to the edge of the void to absorb the power of chaos and practice. But at first, they looked the same as the elixirs, but now there were after images appearing on their bodies. This is... Zuyun looked back at Xiao Hei. If Xiao Hei knew better, he would not call Zuyun to come and see him. He shook his head and said, "Master, not only has the medicine garden changed, but my dragon transformation pond. What happened to Hualong Pond?" Zuyun's heart suddenly tightened. This is a place that can quickly improve Xiao Hei's strength. The demon dragon clan still relies on longevity to increase its strength, let alone Xiao Hei, who is a real dragon. If something happens to Hualong Pond, it will be a long time before Xiao Hei grows up. I don't know either. Master, I'd better go and see for myself. Xiao Hei's response made Zuyun feel bad. He quickly left Xiao Hei behind, climbed over the sword mountain, and was shocked again. I saw that Hualong Pond was no longer as misty as before, but looked more like an ordinary lake in the mortal world. The pool is useless? Zuyun's heart was suddenly shocked. Master, take a closer look, I haven't been back to the pool for 3 days. Xiao Hei's words made Zuyun inevitably think in the worst direction, but seeing is believing. After all, Xiao Hei didn't know much, and he was just transformed into a dragonfish. Things have come to this, no matter how bad the outcome is, we have to accept it. At least, is the immortal mansion still good? Zuyun slowly flew up, then landed on the edge of the pool, and carefully drove the water spirit bead. But I never thought that the water spirit beads that had been tried and tested failed this time. Zuyun took a breath of cold air. Even the water spirit beads are useless? Then this. Not water? You know, in the Hualong Pond, Zuyun's water spirit beads could control the water in the pond. Now that his realm is higher and his soul is stronger, he can't use it anymore? How so? Xiao Hei, how about you go down and have a look? Zuyun pondered for a moment, then turned to look at Xiao Hei. But Xiao Hei was crying sadly, "Master, I don't dare. If I dared, I wouldn't have gone back for 3 days." Zuyun was speechless. After thinking about it, he realized that it was not Xiao Hei's fault. So he jumped straight into the dragon transformation pond. Thump! The water splashed, and at the same time, a golden glow suddenly bloomed in the lake, enveloping the blessing clouds. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 894. This is. Zhu Yun's expression changed, but he suddenly found that the golden light looked very familiar. If he looked carefully, wasn't it the same as the golden thunder when he passed through the heavenly tribulation? In such a daze, these golden lights penetrated into his body without any hindrance. Before he could react, the lotus pods in his lower abdomen also changed. The 24 lotus hearts have not yet been fully born, but they are emitting golden light just like when they were first born. Zuyunia looked at his body and couldn't help but be stunned. The previous speculation was completely true. My lotus heart is not originally golden, but has an inseparable relationship with this golden thunder. But, does this have anything to do with the 5 elements of Chaos Sutra? Zuyun was not sure. Even though the Qi Immortal came here, he never told him the answer. But no matter what, he knew that the changes in the pool would not have any impact on him. That's good news. Call. Zuyun breathed a sigh of relief again and laughed at himself. How could something bad happen to me happen in my own immortal mansion? Then, he looked at the lotus pod again. After a long time, the golden light converged. Zuyun tried it, but there were no special changes. Was it just a formality? When this idea appeared, he was happy. How could there be such a boring thing in the journey of cultivating immortality? This power can help him break through the stage of becoming a god, and can even break through the void and appear in the Dao glass mirror, which is enough to illustrate the power of golden power. It's just that I haven't found the reason yet. Forget it, as long as everything is fine in Hualongqi, let Xiao Hei come back. Zuyun retracted his mind, stuck his head out of the pool water, smiled at Xiao Hei and said, Xiao Hei, this pool is fine. Come in and see if you can feel the dragon power. The power in the Hualong pond is also different from Zuyun's chaotic power, but Zuyun can sense this power. Extremely surging and long-lasting. It can help Xiao Hei grow up, so Zuyun naturally calls it dragon power. Master, you. Xiao Hei looked at Zuyun and hesitated to speak. What's wrong with me? Is it different? Zuyun was surprised that his body had not changed. Could it be that Xiao Hei could still see something strange? It's different, but I can't tell what it feels like. Xiao Hei shook his head and said. If you can't say it, don't say it. Zuyun chuckled and rose into the air. He felt that Xiao Hei must have been frightened to have this illusion. When he landed by the pool, he said, I'll go to the medicine garden to take a look. You can enter the Hualong pond to practice with peace of mind. Yes, master. Xiao Hei watched Zuyun leave. With Zuyun's guarantee, he jumped into the pool without thinking too much. Suddenly, countless subtle golden lights once again appeared in the black pool. The movement was not as strong as Zuyun's leap into the sky, but it was enough to surround Xiao Hei. Xiao Hei was shocked and pale, but at this time he could not speak or use his strength, so he could only let the golden light drag him into the bottom of the pool. Zuyun did not see this scene. He stood in front of the medicine garden and felt the countless pure chaotic power emitted by the shadows of these fairy medicines, and was extremely shocked in his heart. After further exploration, I discovered that the soil had changed. But this change, just like what Xiao Hei expressed, is indescribable. It's strange. Could it be that the golden tribulation thunder also transformed my immortal mansion? Zuyun muttered for a while. He only remembered the situation when he was refining his qi over and over again, and the chaos power overflowed. Until the golden tribulation thunder came, until he successfully broke through the divine transformation stage, he couldn't remember everything that happened in between. As everyone knows, All of this is the combined effect of the golden thunder and the power of chaos. Zuyun looked around, and this inexplicable feeling became stronger and stronger. It wasn't until he stood between the ranch cabins that he remembered something. The ranch has also changed, right? Come on, let's go in and take a look. Zuyun thought and entered the pasture. As soon as the figure appeared, he took in a breath full of spiritual energy. The pasture has also changed. What's going on? Is it related to the immortal? Zuyun thought about it and found only one possibility. Could it be that the weapon immortal sucked away the remnant soul that was originally left in the jade slip, thus making the Dao-glazed mirror completely an immortal weapon under his control, and that is why such a change occurred? The spiritual power here is extremely rich, several times richer than anywhere I've ever been in Tianweishan. Perhaps Sangu and the others will also change. Zuyun said secretly, but his figure flashed and appeared on the edge of the lake. The lake has changed. The original lake was formed by the rainwater falling down and bringing the spiritual energy in the air together. It is not surprising that it has spiritual power. But at this time, he could clearly feel that almost all of this lake was filled with spiritual liquid. What's even more amazing is that the little fish he kept for fun at that time have now become sperms. Became a real spiritual fish. Jumping out of the water from time to time, Zuyun could tell at a glance that these fish, it can already be transformed into a human being. However, for some unknown reason, they were still swimming in the bodies of fish. Shocked, he looked across the lake again. The three dogs transformed into humans, sitting cross-legged and looking much younger. The biggest change is the vitality revealed in him. Originally, Sangu's lifespan was less than 100 years, but now Zuyun felt that Sangu was in his prime. Huh? Master? Perhaps because he felt someone was looking at him, Sangu suddenly opened his eyes. When he found out it was Zuyun, he was overjoyed. Old Zhao, Xiao Huo, Xiao He, and Xiao Hui, come and have a look. Give the master a surprise. Sangu waved to the side, and Zuyun realized that there were several people besides Sangu. Old Zhao was naturally Zhao Kamang. He had turned into a human form. Although he still looked like a middle-aged man, he was much younger than before. Obviously, he benefited greatly from the changes in the ranch. Beside Zhao Kamang was a young man covered in flames. Sangu called him Xiao Huo. Needless to say, it must be the red candle beast that was subdued in the Chuzhu volcano that year. The other two people, who looked similar, were dressed in gray and brown respectively. They were naturally two spirit horses, Xiao Hui and Xiao Brown. The four of them ran towards Zuyun, and then, regardless of Zuyun's surprised expression, they knelt on the ground at the same time and bowed to Zuyun. Thank you for the good fortune given by the master, so that we can have such an opportunity. Zuyun twitched his mouth. He didn't know what caused it now, but it was obvious that the four people benefited a lot. No matter what he thought in his heart, Zuyun still did what he should do on the surface, and he didn't have any bad intentions, so it didn't count. And they can all transform into humans, which will be of great help to them in the future. Get up. Zuyun smiled and waved his hand. The four of them got up quickly, looking at Zuyun as if they had 1,000 words to say, but they didn't know where to start. Okay, just practice well. After asking, Zuyun didn't get any useful information. After thinking about it, he decided to go to the ancestral tree to have a look. The ancestral tree and the sacred mountain of Muling have lived for a long time, and perhaps they can get useful information. Now Zuyun has reached the spiritualization stage and is in the immortal residence. He can reach 3 miles away with a thought. He is not restricted by the spiritual world at all. Not long after, he appeared at the location of the ancestral tree, but found that there was nothing here. Not only the tree was gone, but even the wood spirit holy mountain was gone. Strange, where are the people? Zuyun was puzzled. Just as he muttered to himself, he heard someone next to him say, "Who are you looking for?" He was stunned at first, and then shocked. There could be no one else in the immortal residence or the ranch. He didn't even look at it, but slapped his palm backhandedly behind him. Chaos palm. Zuyun's move was so fast that he didn't have time for the people behind him to react. This palm had already been attached to his body. The majestic chaos force immediately caused the wind and clouds to surge here, and the sky also darkened. But he didn't expect it. The palm power was exhausted, but the opponent was still. He came back to his senses in fear and saw the face of a middle-aged man who seemed to be smiling. It looked familiar, but he was sure he had never seen it before. While he was in a daze, a beam of green light suddenly shot down from the turbulent clouds in the sky. It was as thick as a thunderbolt and rushed straight towards Zuyun. Not good. This green meaning is the spiritual power of wood. Wood is born, but Zuyun felt that if he was hit by this green light, he would be annihilated into ashes in an instant. Chaos sword. Zuyun shouted in a low voice and stretched out his empty palm. Suddenly, a black light flashed and the chaos sword instantly appeared in his hand. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 895. The Promise Sword Technique. Zuyun's figure flashed and disappeared quickly. The next moment, he appeared in mid-air, facing the green light beam like thunder. Good boy, can't you even recognize the old tree? As soon as the sword was raised, the green light suddenly begged for mercy. Zuyun was startled and quickly turned the sword. The sword energy transformed by the power of chaos suddenly blasted to the other side of the sky and disappeared. Ancestral Tree. Zuyun was speechless for a while, watching the green light stop and then condense into a middle-aged man covered in green. Why did you become a human too? What's it called? The ancestral tree was surprised, but then he blew his beard and glared, saying, "Good boy, you are going to attack the mountain as soon as you come, which scares me so much that I think someone is coming. Fortunately, you took this sword, and I will recognize the old tree." Mountain. Is that the Muling sacred mountain? He looked down at the ground and saw the same middle-aged man, but he was dressed in grey robes, which was not very eye-catching. It was also very consistent with the original temperament of Wood Spirit Sacred Mountain. Holy Mountain, I'm sorry, I didn't recognize it. Zuyun was extremely helpless. It's okay, it's okay. I have to blame myself. My strength suddenly increased and I could transform into a human being. I was preparing to fight the old tree, but I didn't expect you to come, so I planned to give you a try. Muling Shengshan touched his nose, slightly embarrassed. After learning the true intentions of these two old guys, Zuyun was dumbfounded for a moment and didn't know what to say. Let's go down and talk, Zusha said, and Zuyun followed him to the ground. The three of them had known each other for a long time, and they didn't care about trivial matters, so they simply sat on the ground. Zuyun, what exactly is this world? You once told me it was the beast controlling space, but the beast controlling space will not change like this. Zusha glared at Zuyun and said. Even Das Han looked at Zuyun without saying anything. Zuyun laughed twice, thought for a moment, and said, Ancestral Tree, this beast control space is indeed different. I accidentally obtained a spiritual weapon. As for why this is like this, I don't know. He decided to hide it for now. But Ancestral Shu obviously didn't believe it, and said, Zuyun, old Shu and I are not well informed, and we are still in the mortal world. But your beast controlling space is not in line with the way of heaven and common sense, so don't do it either, cover me. Hearing this, Zuyun couldn't help but feel his heart skip a beat and said, why did the ancestors say this? If you say this is a spiritual weapon, I believed it a few days ago, old tree. But suddenly, there was an endless and huge spiritual power. If this was the only thing, it would be fine. but unfortunately, this spiritual power is extremely Jingchun not only helped me and Das Han's cultivation skyrocket, but also brought about such a huge change in this world. No matter how powerful your spiritual weapon is, it has been used since the beginning of the mortal world. How can it be stronger than Senior Yes? Chaos Hammer. Chaos Hammer. Zuyun is extremely sensitive to the word chaos. Yes, Senior Yes Hammer is a natal spiritual weapon, coming from the spirit world. It is said that the original owner of the Chaos Hammer was a giant in the spirit world. But even this kind of treasure has not changed a little. Compared to this, how could you, a beast-controlling weapon, be like this? Zuyun understood what Zusha meant. It was not that Zusha recognized this fairy weapon, but a guess based on comparing it with Yayang's Chaos Hammer. He was slightly relieved. Although he didn't know how to explain it, it would be good to tell the truth. Ancestral tree, I can swear by my Taoist heart, and I don't know why. I also noticed the changes here, and I don't know why, so I came here to find you, thinking that you might know something. So. Zusha couldn't help but ponder. He knew that Zuyun would not lie to him, so he said, actually, these are all secondary. The most important thing is that this world, I feel something is different. Zuyun was stunned. Of course he knew it was different. But obviously what Zusha said was different and meant something else. Ancestral Shu, please speak, Zuyun is all ears. Well, Ancestral Tree nodded and said, I have taken root here. As soon as these words came out, Zuyun's expression changed drastically. The Ancestral Tree is a spiritual tree, and it calls itself the World Tree. The mountain is called Muling Sacred Mountain. It is integrated with the Ancestral Tree and draws the so-called original power from the earth. What he meant by taking root was that the Ancestral Tree took root in this pasture and became the World Tree of this world. Zuyun felt like his breathing had stopped. Is this ranch going to become a whole new world? You know, Zusha was not surprised by Zuyun's expression. He continued, I once told you my identity. I was originally the World Tree in the mortal world, but now it has become a spiritual weapon. World Tree, I can't help but doubt it. He spread his hands and continued, if I am the only one who feels this way about the old tree, then that's it. Ask Das Han how he feels. Zuyun took a deep breath, and then looked at Muling Holy Mountain. I can feel the power of the source from here. Maybe I feel wrong, but the extremely pure spiritual power that improved my realm before is absolutely correct. The realm can never lie, right? Das Han's words made Zuyun unable to calm down at all. This Diwu glazed mirror is an immortal weapon, but how can it create a whole new world? Wait, a whole new world? What Xianxia had said to him suddenly appeared in Zuyun's mind. The Diwu glass mirror is actually a remnant. The real complete body is the glazed mirror of the universe. U represents time. Cosmos represents space. So is this ranch a fragment of the great universe-colored glass mirror? If so, it can be explained thoroughly. The great universe-colored glass mirror has time, and the great universe-colored glass mirror has space. Otherwise, why would this ranch be different after being fused with other fragments? To this day, apart from the ranch, the first thing he got was the cave. According to what Huang Longshu and the others said, the cave is actually the cave used by the immortal emperor for retreat and cultivation. In fact, the alchemy room, the weapon refining room, the sword mountain, and the dragon pool are all connected together. Except for this ranch that I named myself. Now it seems that it is out of tune with other places. Even outside the immortal mansion, I can't enter the ranch directly. I must enter the immortal mansion and then enter it through the ranch's wooden house. On the contrary, I can summon the creatures in the ranch at will. Zuyun was extremely shocked and could hardly digest his guess. But at this time, Xiaoshu's next words made Zuyun very excited. Zuyun, since you don't know, then you say, could it be related to the totem pole? Totem pole. Zuyun shook his head, not to mention that he had taken out a totem pole here before, and it did not cause any reaction from the ranch. Moreover, he never took out a totem pole after that. Yes, the totem pole. Last time, I had to lie to you about the news of the totem pole to make you feel at ease. But I kept thinking, could it be the influence of the totem pole that caused this? Xiaoshu couldn't help but doubt that there were too many things about Zuyun that he couldn't understand. And the only thing he could relatively understand was the totem pole. He guessed whether Zuyun knew the news about destiny from the totem pole. After all, in the spirit world, no one can say for sure. Zuyun smiled bitterly and said, Xiaoshu, I haven't taken the totem pole since I left last time, so it must not be caused by the totem pole. In order to make Xiaoshu and Muling Shengshan believe, Zuyun simply took out 11 totem poles together and stood them beside him. Who would have thought that the sky would change color? Boom! 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 Countless thunders appeared out of thin air, and suddenly dark clouds covered the sky. 11 thunder snakes fell down, and the target was these totem poles. Not good. The faces of the 3 people changed drastically, and they all stood up and fled to the distance. These lightnings were extremely terrifying. Even they felt the supreme power in them. Not to mention being hit head-on, even if they were touched, they would be crushed to pieces. After a while, they had already hidden far away. I saw that the 11 totem poles were actually swallowed up by the lightning, but the lightning lasted for a long time. Zuyun was stunned, and the ancestral tree and the sacred mountain of Muling were also like this. And Zuyun, at this time, his mind was full of the 2 words that Hu Chong had said before, heavenly punishment. But why did heavenly punishment bombard the totem poles? When Zuyun was puzzled, 11 thunderbolts also appeared in the sky above the Lin family's ancestral land in the Peeper realm of the eastern mortal realm. These thunderbolts all bombarded the 11 demon kings. The waves of the holy lake surged, and the ancestral land shook, as if the ground collapsed. In the air, spiritual power surged, frightening all the cultivators here. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 896. Boom. Almost at the same time, all the thunders fell at the same time, hitting the demon kings of various tribes respectively. This endless surging thunder and lightning power destroyed the heaven and earth. Looking at the power, if there was a galaxy here, it would be smashed to pieces. But a moment later, the thunder and lightning suddenly disappeared. Except for the mess on the ground and the air without spiritual power in the air, everything returned to normal. The Demon King was fine. The Holy Lake was fine. The ancestral land was fine. The cultivators who had not yet recovered from their daze were also fine. What happened just now? Li Emo looked at Lin Xiaoqi beside him with a shocked face. He was only in the Jindan stage, how could he see such a strange phenomenon? But let alone him, even Lin Xiaoqi was amazed. He was extremely shocked. Because when the thunder struck, he subconsciously used the Pakuling Jingju, but his eyes suddenly hurt. At that moment, he knew that this thunder was not something that he could see through at his level. I don't know. Lin Xiaoqi only cares about the Lin family's ancestral land. Because the Lin family's ancestral precepts are to guard the passage to the spirit world. Now that the Holy Lake is safe, the passage is naturally safe. Seeing Li Emo puzzled, Lin Xiaoqi continued, or, you can ask the demon kings. He nodded towards the bewildered demon kings. Li Emo looked over and quickly gave up the idea. Their expressions have silently told this point. They don't know either. Until the rabbit demon king suddenly said in surprise, everyone, check your lifespan. Hearing this, All the demon kings did as they were told. After a moment, they all lost their voices. But then, wild laughter followed. Because their immortality is gone. They can feel their own lifespan. This means that they can go to the spirit world and gain true immortality through their own efforts. What happened to them? Lin Xiaoqi and Li Emo were completely puzzled, looking at these crying and laughing demon kings. At the same time, in the Immortal Palace Ranch, the lightning also stopped. The 11 totem poles that had been eroded by time seemed to have vitality, making Zuyun feel that these totem poles seemed to be alive. He stared blankly. What was going on? Xiaoshu said, "Destiny." Zuyun couldn't be sure, but it was obviously related to destiny. However, Zuyun didn't dare to get close to the vitality, for fear that if he got close, it would affect him. Thinking that this ranch was most likely a fragment of the great universe glass mirror, Zuyun pondered for a moment before saying to the Ancestor Tree, and Das Han. This totem pole has undergone this change, perhaps only the 12 can discover the mystery. But before that, I would like to trouble you two to guard this place. You don't need to tell me, I know it. The Ancestor Tree did not speak, but the taciturn Das Han took the initiative to respond. The old tree and I absorb the origin of this world, and live in the same place as this world, so naturally we will not let them affect the creatures here. The Ancestor Tree also nodded, indicating that he agreed with the words of the Holy Mountain of Wood Spirit. Thank you. Zuyun bowed his hands to thank him, and everything was self-evident. Back to the lakeshore, Zuyun told Sangu and the others about the changes here, and told them not to leave here without permission, and then planned to leave the ranch and go to the outside world from the immortal mansion. But just as he was about to leave, Zhao Kamang hurriedly walked up to Zuyun and asked, "Master, I have an unwelcome request." Zuyun was stunned, then said, "Speak." "Master, do you still remember that I practiced the Chuzhu 10,000 demons technique? Although I failed in the demon technique and became a demon, I have reached the realm of the Demon King and can transform into a human, which is a blessing in disguise. But my demon skills are still shallow. If I stay in this world of the Master for a long time, although my life is not in danger, my experience will not increase. If it goes on for a long time, I will sooner or later have a demon in my heart, and I will not be able to help the Master in the future." Zuyun understood. Zhao Kamang meant to leave. After thinking for a while, Zuyun smiled and said, "If you want to leave, I will not stop you. However, the timing is not right now. I will let you go when the time is right." "How about that?" "Master," Zhao Kamang said hurriedly, "I don't want to betray you, but I want to improve myself in battle. I am only at the level of a demon king, but I have been practicing with the demon pills of sea monsters. I thought that after I arrived in the spirit world, I would be of no use. But I learned that there are also wild seas in the spirit world, so I understand." Zuyun waved his hand to interrupt him and said, "If you pass by the sea, I will let you go. But I have just arrived in the spirit world and have not established a firm foothold, so don't worry." "Then, thank you very much, Master." Zhao Kamang fell to the ground respectfully, watching Zuyun disappear in front of his eyes. Sango couldn't help but say, "Old Zhao, isn't it good for you to practice in this spiritual liquid?" Even Xiaohuo looked at Zhao Kamang in confusion. Alas, Zhao Kamang sighed and said, "Sangu, you are a transformed spirit beast, and Xiaohuo is a native demon beast. But I am originally a human. Do you know what is the biggest difference between me and you?" Sangu didn't figure it out, but Xiaohuo's intelligence has greatly improved, and as a demon beast, he understood the meaning of Zhao Kamang's words. Brother Zhao means that he transformed from a human into a demon. Even if he achieved the realm of the Demon King, his body is still a demon. And the most important thing is that he didn't get the inheritance in his bloodline like us native demon beasts. Sango suddenly realized and said, "So, you want to go to the wild sea area, first to experience, and second to find your kind. That's right, Zhao Kamang nodded and said, although I don't know what the connection is between the wild sea area in the spiritual world and the wild sea area in the mortal world, I would rather die outside than stay here and let my realm grow. Don't mention the word death. At this time, Xiao Zong suddenly said, sometimes, it's easier to survive than to die. I came to this place earlier than you, and I saw with my own eyes that this place was finally refined by the Master. Even, I have experienced life and death countless times. You all know that before I could transform, I was just an ordinary spirit beast. But you know that when I entered this place, I was just an ordinary horse. Everyone looked strange, they really hadn't heard Xiao Zong talk about it. Yes, he had been unable to speak before, and could only communicate with them in animal language. The most important thing is the key to intelligence. Xiao Zong's intelligence is not low, but there is a huge gap between them. Deep down, they didn't want to talk to a spirit horse. I mean, Lao Zhao has his own choice, but if he can survive, he must not ask for death. Xiao Zong's words made Zhao Kamang understand. Don't worry, I'm not asking for death. What I mean is that going outside to experience will make me stronger, and then I will be more likely to help the Master. These are words from the heart, and everyone finally understands Zhao Kamang's true thoughts and can only give him blessings. Zuyun didn't know all this. Even when Zhao Kamang wanted to leave, he didn't take it to heart, and thought that after becoming a demon king, Zhao Kamang had other thoughts. But he wouldn't force it, not to mention that Zhao Kamang was not much help to him in this spirit world. But considering that they had come all the way, Zhao Kamang didn't feel sorry for him, so let's part ways in peace, and let him go when we pass through the wild sea. Zuyun sat in the cave, sighed, sat down at the edge of the void of the immortal mansion, and after recovering the chaotic power of a lotus heart, he looked around the medicine garden and the dragon pond, and then decided to leave the immortal mansion. His figure flashed away, and when he appeared again, he suddenly found that someone was breaking his formation. Who is it? Zuyun was shocked and quickly tensed up his nerves, but he couldn't help but think of Chen Tianxiao. Zhang Daozun said he was calling for someone and left on the spot. He definitely didn't know that he could break the formation. And only Chen Tianxiao, if he hid in the void, so that he couldn't find it, and since he could lay down the mysterious Xianxia trap spirit formation, I think he has a deep attainment in the art of formation. It is really possible to track here. If it was him, how should he deal with it? Zuyun couldn't help but clench his fists. According to the movement from the formation, it was obvious that the other party had no way for a while, and he had enough time to think. And outside the formation, the female cultivator stared with her eyes, and her heart was already horrified. The Zhang Dao master brought her all the way here, but was trapped outside by Chen Fa. There is no doubt that the Zhang Dao master will let her break the formation. And it is extremely difficult for her to break it. It is not that she cannot break the formation, but she has to make the formation last as long as possible while destroying the formation pattern. Who else can be able to integrate the 9 transformations and 9 suns formation and the Dozhuan Xinyi formation to such a perfect level except Zuyun? Zuyun, and Tang can only do so much. I hope you can find a way to leave as soon as possible. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 897. That's right, this female cultivator is Tang Liwen. At that time, Zuyun was so powerful in Dongsheng realm that she was also extremely amazed, and at the same time she wanted to go to the spirit world and pursue a higher level world. Tang Liwen had already made preparations. She knew that the passage to the spirit world was at the bottom of the holy lake. She had stayed in the fire dragon sect for hundreds of years, so she knew this. Without Lin Xiaoqi, it was impossible for Lin Xiaoqi, who was in the Jindan stage, to discover Tang Liwen's existence. Tang Liwen found a teleportation formation at the bottom of the lake. After several days of research, she activated the teleportation formation and then stepped into it. The place where she appeared was the same maze that Zuyun walked through. Tang Liwen did not have the breaking void spirit Aiju, so she could not see the correct route like Zuyun. But she relied on her own attainments in the formation to get out of it. But unexpectedly, just after flying from the wild sea and reaching the coast, she met the dirty Taoist master who was washing her clothes on the beach. Tang Liwen could not tell that Zhang Daozun was a strong man in the tribulation crossing stage. She just felt that a powerful man who was many times stronger than her was actually washing her clothes. So, she took another look, which immediately aroused Zhang Daozun's dissatisfaction. He grabbed Tang Liwen with just a grab in the air. But Zhang Daozun was not a bloodthirsty person. Instead, he asked Tang Liwen, "Why are you watching me wash clothes?" Tang Liwen didn't dare to admit it, and hurriedly said, "Senior, I just came from the mortal world. When I saw you, I wanted to ask you about the situation in the spiritual world. But I saw you were busy, so I didn't dare to disturb you." Hee, little girl, even if you think I'm dirty, don't think I don't know. In this case, then you stay by my side and wash my clothes. Tang Liwen became Zhang Daozun's maid, responsible for washing his clothes. At first, Tang Liwen said that she was a formation master. But who knew that Zhang Daozun didn't care at all? The difference in strength made Tang Liwen accept her fate for the time being. But fortunately, Zhang Daozun had never done anything wrong to Tang Liwen, which made Tang Liwen feel relieved. At least this was a backer that could allow her to survive in the spirit world. After following him for a long time, Tang Liwen also had a relatively good understanding of Zhang Daozun, and she knew that it was impossible to completely wash Zhang Daozun's clothes. But now, Zhang Daozun wanted to capture Zuyun and take him as his apprentice. Tang Liwen was afraid of Zuyun's temper. Since he had run away, there was no way he would agree. If Zhang Daozun was dissatisfied, Zuyun might have no way to survive. That was why she pretended to break the formation with difficulty. "Little girl, can you do it? I don't think this formation is as scary as Chen Tianqiao's Tianxu polling formation. How come you are still like this after breaking it for so long?" They had been here for some time. Although the 9 transformations and 9 yang formation outside was shaking, Zhang Daozun saw that it was almost undamaged. He said what he was thinking. The Tianxu soul binding array was so strong, but the boy escaped while he was looking for him. "You are a formation master, but your progress is very slow." Zhang Daozun is naturally dissatisfied. Senior. Tang Liwen hurriedly said, "You don't know, from the outside, this is a formation, but in fact, these are 2 formations connected. If there is a big noise, it will definitely alert your future apprentice. If he runs away, it will be difficult for us to catch him. Hey, little girl, do you look down on my body skills?" Zhang Dao Venerable said angrily, "The demon dragon emperor was touched by me 18 times. If Chen Tianqiao doesn't run, he will be touched by me a few times. This kid is just a little in the spiritualization stage. Even if he lets him run away, where can he run to now? He just took advantage of my absence to break Chen Tianqiao's formation and sneaked away. If I was there at the time and ran 5 miles, I would recognize him as my master." Tang Liwen agreed and accelerated the speed of breaking the formation, but she couldn't help thinking in her heart, if Zuyun ran, could he outrun him? What she knew most about Zuyun was that this kid was very good at escaping. But what did he just say? Zuyun is in the spiritualization stage? Tang Liwen was surprised and happy. She was surprised that Zuyun's cultivation speed was so fast. She was happy that if Zuyun's realm was higher, it would be easier to escape, right? But he didn't know that Zuyun at this moment didn't even think about escaping, but was thinking about how to fight back. because he knew that it was impossible to escape in front of a person in the tribulation stage. Otherwise, how could he be chased here? However, there was almost no chance of winning the counterattack. What he wanted to do was to force the other party to use more spiritual power as much as possible, so as to trigger the heavenly tribulation. In this way, he could escape. Whether it was the Demon Dragon King, Xianxia, or the Zhangdao Master, they had never used all their spiritual power. Even when the Demon Dragon King wanted to catch Zuyun, he asked these two people for help. Zuyun, who calmed down, thought of this possibility, so he came up with this solution accordingly. The question is, how much of the opponent's strength can he withstand? Can he withstand it until the opponent triggers the heavenly tribulation? Zuyun was thinking hard, but suddenly found that the speed of breaking the formation has increased. He stood up suddenly, and the 9 transformations and 9 suns formation had been completely destroyed, leaving only the Dozhuan Xinyi formation. Who is it? The previous method was very familiar, but it always destroyed insignificant patterns. But suddenly, how come the main pattern of the entire formation was directly destroyed? The formation eyes are divided into main formation eyes and secondary formation eyes. Naturally, the formation pattern connected to the main formation eye is the main formation pattern. Just like the blood vessels in a person's body, starting from the aorta, and then slowly subdividing. If the aorta is severed, the person's life will be in danger. The same is true for formations. Anyone who breaks the formation is equivalent to cutting the main artery of the 9 turns and 9 suns formation, directly cutting off the connection between the spirit stone and the formation eye. Did someone replace him? Who is it, Chen Tianxiao? By the way, Master Zhangdao said he was looking for someone. Did he chase him here? Zuyun suddenly felt that if the person coming was the Zhangdao Master, he seemed to have one more choice. That is to temporarily compromise and become the disciple of the Zhangdao Master. Thinking of this, he decided to enter the formation to see who was the one who broke the formation. He took a deep breath to keep himself extremely calm, then took a step and instantly stepped into the void of thousands of stars. At the same time, Tang Liwen, who was more certain that Zuyun did it, suddenly felt moved and realized that someone had entered the formation. She was afraid that Zuyun would break out of it and be captured alive by the Zhangdao Master, so she immediately did not care about breaking the formation. She also submerged her body into the formation from the outside, and the next moment, she appeared in front of Zuyun. The movement of stars is her unique formation, and the myriad changes are also passed on to Zuyun by her. If you want to join this formation, it's extremely simple. And Tang. Zuyun wiped his eyes, his face full of disbelief. It was Tang Liwen who was breaking his formation. Zuyun, to make a long story short, the person who wants to arrest you is the Zhangdao Venerable. I can only try to delay you as long as possible. Tang Liwen said the whole sentence in one breath, and then said, you should find a way to escape as soon as possible. If you stay here any longer, the Zhangdao Master will doubt me. Without giving Zuyun a chance to speak, Tang Liwen disappeared out of thin air. Then, thousands of stars suddenly started to move. After a while, a sentence was formed. Zuyun, I'm safe for now, take care of yourself and run away first. Zuyun suddenly smiled bitterly, and Tang, how could I be such a person? Run, can I run away? If it's Chen Tianxiao, I still have the guts to run away. After all, he may be following him. But Master Zhangdao found me here for no reason. I guess he has some mysterious tracking skills. You can't run away, you have to face it. After murmuring a few words, all the stars in the sky returned to their places. And Zuyun also disappeared out of thin air. He's out? Eh? Why did you come out here? Zhangdao Master was originally surprised that Tang Liwen was suddenly sucked into the formation. Just as he was about to forcefully blast away the formation, he saw Tang Liwen come out again and explained to him that he accidentally touched the trapping formation. Fortunately she had good attainments in the formation, so she escaped. He was still wondering if Tang Liwen was lying to him, but Zhu Yun appeared. "Senior, it's not impossible for you to make me your apprentice." When Zhu Yun appeared, he saw a little fear on Tang Liwen's face, so he plucked up the courage to make a request. "This girl is very slender. If you ask me to serve you tea and pour water, I might consider it." Hearing this, Tang Liwen and Master Zhangdao had different expressions. Tang Liwen had the intention to kill Zhu Yun. But the Zhangdao Venerable clapped his hands and laughed, "Good boy, this is exactly what I meant as a teacher. Little girl, I will take you to find a lake in Tianweishan, and you can clean it up for him." As soon as the words fell, Tang Liwen was caught in the armpit of Zhangdao Venerable, and Zhu Yun was not much better. There was no chance to dodge, and he was clamped tightly by a huge force. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 898. The Zhangdao master is very fast, but when he is deliberately suppressed, he is not much faster than Zhu Yun. "Senior, where are you taking me?" Zhu Yun quickly asked. Is it possible that Tang Liwen really wants to give him a bath? Putting aside the relationship between men and women, Tang Liwen can also be regarded as Zhu Yun's elder. More importantly, as long as a monk has the foundation building period, he will also keep his body clean. Even if it is dirty, he only needs a spell to clean his body. He is now in the stage of becoming a god. What to wash clean? Didn't I tell you to take a bath? If you can't wash yourself clean, you can't be my apprentice. Zhu Yun was speechless for a while and said, "Senior, I'm very clean. Why don't you put me down and take a closer look? No one in the world is clean. In the spiritual world, the 7 deadly sins of mortals will be manifested in monks. Can you tell me that you are clean?" Hearing this, Zhu Yun's heart suddenly brightened and he said, "Senior, the dirty you are talking about, isn't the dirty of the body, but the dirty of the heart." "Ha ha ha," the Zhangdao Venerable laughed, and then said, "Yes, you have a lot of understanding, and you are indeed the person I like to be my disciple." Zhu Yun frowned, thinking about the Zhangtao that the Zhangtao master cultivated. Could it be a negative emotion? How could there be such a way? It's incredible. But no matter what, he would never abandon the chaos power he cultivated and turn to another path. Not to mention whether his 5 spiritual roots can fit together, Zhu Yun wants to follow his own path and will not be led by others. But right now, he can't escape from the Zhangdao master, and he still has Tang Liwen in his hands. "Aunt Tang, why are you being taken along by Senior?" Zhu Yun thought hard and couldn't figure out the reason. He thought he could only take one step at a time. This. Tang Liwen also smiled bitterly. Compared to Zhu Yunhui, who was accepted as a disciple by the Zhangdao master, his status was much lower. Thinking that she was still an array master practicing array formations in her Yuanying stage, she would still be an extremely powerful existence in the mortal world. But unfortunately, he came to the mortal world unprepared and became a person who washes people's clothes. It's really hard to describe. "Senior," seeing Tang Liwen's expression, Zhu Yun said to the Zhangdao Venerable again, "She is my elder. If you let her go, I will be your disciple wholeheartedly." "How about that?" "That's not possible. If she leaves, there will be no one to wash my clothes." The Zhangdao master shook his head and said, "I can wash the clothes." Zhu Yun agreed without hesitation. "No, my apprentice wants to practice the dirty ways. How can he do such menial work?" The Zhangdao master shook his head again. "Senior, I will definitely practice hard. My talent is very good. If you don't believe it, look at my bones." Zhu Yun wanted to keep Tang Liwen safe and said through gritted teeth, "You've already reached the stage of becoming a god. Your talent is definitely not too bad. I don't care about your bones or anything like that. Zhangdao Venerable continued to shake his head, and at this time, they came to a valley. At the bottom of the valley is a huge lake. Little girl, it's time to work. The Zhangdao master said with a smile, and then kept tinkering with something from his storage ring. Tang Liwen knew that Zuyun wanted to save her from the sea of misery, but the Zhangdao master didn't listen at all, so he had to walk in front of Zuyun and stretched his trembling hands towards Zuyun's collar. "Aunt Tang, no." Zuyun hurriedly flashed and stood in front of the Zhangdao master, saying, "Senior, look at my bones." Hearing these stubborn words, Zhangdao Venerable suddenly became impatient. "Boy, just look at it. If I am dissatisfied with your bones, I will interrupt." Before the next words could be said, the Zhangdao master was immediately stunned. "Less than 100 years old, boy, you are not even 100 years old. A monk's appearance can be deceiving, but his bones can tell his approximate age. In the early stage of becoming a god, he was less than 100 years old. Monster, monster. Ha ha ha, I never thought I could find a monster as my apprentice." The Zhangdao master looked up to the sky and smiled, and he laughed for more than 10 breaths. His voice also caused waves on the lake, and then he stopped. "Boy, tell me what kind of skill you practice." He looked directly at Zuyun and said in a deep voice, with a more solemn look on his face, "Senior, please let Aunt Tang leave first, then I can tell you." When the other party desperately needs him, Zuyun knows that he is qualified to negotiate with the other party. "Okay, okay. Little girl, you can go." Zhangdao master waved his hand casually, and a black shadow flew out between Tang Liwen's eyebrows, and then fell into his palm. Dirty spiritual power. Zuyun could feel that this black shadow was exactly the same as the black power on Zhangdao Venerable. "Zuyun, you." Tang Liwen stared blankly. In his opinion, once he became the disciple of the Zhangdao master, the path to immortality that Zuyun wanted to take would completely change. She had had an in-depth conversation with Zuyun and knew that Zuyun's Taoist heart was particularly firm. But now in order to save her, Zuyun actually wants to rebuild a new path. It's still a dirty road that I've never heard of. It is not surprising to change the path and practice. How can we ensure that the Zhangdao master is not taking advantage of Zuyun? A great individual who has transcended the tribulation period, accepts disciples to pass on his mantle? She absolutely doesn't believe it. But right now, Aunt Tang, let's go and find a place to practice your formation. If Tang Liwen continues to stay, I don't know whether it will ruin his plan, but at least she will become a burden when he wants to escape. I can definitely deal with the Zhangdao master here. Zuyun, see you soon." Tang Liwen heard from Zuyun's tone that she could not help Zuyun by staying, so she had to say goodbye to him. "Senior, see you later. Go quickly, I have to give my apprentice a bath now." The Zhangdao master just wanted to get started. He wished that Tang Liwen would leave quickly. Who told him that there was nothing he could do against Zuyun? After watching Tang Liwen's figure disappear into the valley, the Zhangdao master suppressed his excitement and said, "Little Zuyun, can you talk now? What kind of spiritual root do you have and what kind of skills do you practice? I only then can I prepare the corresponding potion for you." "Potion? What are you doing with the potion?" Zuyun wanted to delay time so that Tang Liwen could run further. "Of course I want to wash away your spiritual roots. If your spiritual roots are not removed, how can you remove your original skills? After doing this, you can remove the dirty things in your heart." Zuyun now has a vague understanding of the Zhangdao, which is obviously a Dao without attributes. Perhaps, it has the same effect as the formation Dao and the instrument Dao. Yang is right, people without spiritual roots can indeed be cultivated. I just don't know whether Zhangdao Venerable's spiritual roots are innate or washed away the day after tomorrow. Looking at the several bottles and jars of different colors in front of him, Zuyun couldn't help but check the corresponding spiritual roots in his heart. All 5 attributes are present. The purple one is the thunder spirit root, and the light blue one is not sure whether it is the ice spirit root or the wind spirit root. There were several other colors that he had never encountered before and could not guess. What made him even more confused was that there were several black porcelain bottles. Black roots? Dark spirit root? Or some unknown spiritual root? Zuyun didn't want his spiritual roots to be washed away, because it would directly destroy the skills he practiced. But if we don't say it, how should we deal with it? You brat, are you going to tell me? Seeing Zuyun's hesitation, Master Zhangdao couldn't help but turn cold. He snorted and said, "You said you should let him go, so I let him go. Now I ask you who Lingan is, but you don't tell me. Could it be possible that the spiritual root is very rare, and the cultivation method is also unique?" "Absolutely, only." Hearing this, Zuyun couldn't help but his eyes lit up. "If I tell you a spiritual root that I have never heard of, I might be able to get away with it?" With a thought in his heart, Zuyun had an idea, so he said, "Senior, I am actually Haligan." "Halangen." The Zhangdao master looked confused. "What kind of spiritual root is this?" "I don't know either. I heard from my master in the mortal world that I picked it up from the sea, and my spiritual root is different from others. If you don't believe it, I will show you my magical powers." After saying that, Zuyun did not give Master Zhangdao a chance to think, and just waved his hand towards the lake. He did not use his chaos power, because this would definitely be recognized by the Zhangdao master. Therefore, he used the water spirit bead's control ability. Through the water spirit bead, the lake surface suddenly set off a huge water column. But miraculously, no water spiritual power was revealed, and the Zhangdao venerable even frowned. Zuyun struck while the iron was hot and said, "Senior, this lake is not the sea after all, the water quality is different. If it were in the wild sea, the power I could exert would be even more terrifying." Zuyun already has a plan in mind. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 899. Do you want me to take you to the wild sea? The Zhangdao master narrowed his eyes. He had never heard of Haligan, so he believed Zuyun for the time being. If this was true, Zuyun's request was also reasonable. The important thing is that he does not have the corresponding spiritual cleansing water. The so-called spiritual cleansing water is used to wash away spiritual roots. It was prepared by him after so many years of hard work. It is based on the ancient secret method. Yes, Senior, don't I just want to show off the power of my High Lingan, so that you can come up with a way to wash away my High Lingan? Zuyun asked with a pair of innocent eyes open. Very good, you want to go to the wild sea, right? I hope you won't lie to me. Boy, in this life, I hate others lying to me the most. Zhangdao Venerable agreed, put away all his spiritual cleansing water, then picked up Zuyun in one hand and flew towards the sea. Zuyun took a long breath, looked at the rapidly retreating mountains and forest clouds, and thought to himself, "Aunt Tang, there is only so much I can do to help you. I hope you can survive in Tianweishan. The sky is open for birds to fly, and the sea is open for fish to leap." Zuyun knew that there was no way he could escape the pursuit of the Zhangdao master while flying in the sky, so he could only escape by going to the sea and borrowing the water spirit beads. During the tribulation period, he really didn't have the courage to fight. The land of 9 netherworlds, Demon Moon Forest. "Son, come here." Nangong Ting Feng panted heavily, waved to Feng Qingyang and said, "Mom, what's wrong with you?" Since coming from the mortal world, Nangong Tingfeng asked Zhou Yingxia and Feng Qingyang to stay in the depths and not leave this place. For example, she and Zhou Yingxia were fine, they were already in the nascent soul stage, but Feng Qingyang was only in the core formation stage. The pressure of spiritual energy in the spiritual world puts great pressure on Feng Qingyang. If they could still walk in the mortal world like mortals, Feng Qingyang would be unable to move at all. And since Zhou Yingxia arrived here, he has been holding the Book of Heaven in his hands, trying to study the secrets in it, but he doesn't care about anything at all, as if he is possessed by a demon. So Nangong Tingfeng put all his efforts into Feng Qingyang. Son, mother got some information and managed to escape. Nangong Tingfeng lowered his voice and spoke into Feng Qingyang's ear. News, what news? Feng Qingyang curled his lips, thinking that the spiritual world was a brand new world, and that his cultivation would advance by leaps and bounds, and he would break through to the nascent soul stage as soon as possible. But who would have thought that everything here would make him very uncomfortable? Ascension to immortality, a chance to become an immortal. Nangong Tingfeng secretly glanced at Zhou Yingxia, who was not far away. Seeing that her eyes were closed tightly and she didn't notice it at all, she continued, "Our land belongs to the Demon Moon sect. My mother is from the Demon Moon section. According to the news I heard, there will be a miracle called the Immortal platform in the sky in a few days. As long as you can get through the Immortal platform, you will directly ascend to immortality." Ascend directly. Hearing this, Feng Qingyang's eyes lit up. Not to mention anything else, the spiritual energy pressure alone almost tortured him to the point of being dehumanized. Yes, the information is very reliable, because the Demon Moon sect also obtained the information from elsewhere, and it is extremely accurate. Furthermore, my mother didn't just listen to one's beliefs. She also inquired about the news elsewhere in the 9 Netherlands. Xianxia platform does indeed exist, and it will appear in Tianyi every once in a while. The Xianxia platform is extremely fair, and anyone can participate. But in the past, it was controlled by the major forces. They were able to get the date of the Xianxia stage in advance, so every time, people from the major forces were able to ascend. In this regard, many people, that's what they say. Hearing Nangong Tingfeng repeatedly talk about the major forces, Feng Qingyang's expression suddenly became a little gloomy, and said, "But mother, you said that the ascension platform needs to be fought. How can I win against those monks from the major forces?" "Don't panic," Nangong Tingfeng comforted him, "didn't I tell you that the Xianxia stage is extremely fair? You only have the pill-forming stage, so the test for you on the Xianxia stage will only be as difficult as the pill-forming stage. If you are at the nascent soul stage, then it's the difficulty of the nascent soul stage. In other words, the difficulty will be different depending on the realm. Otherwise, why would I be so anxious to tell you this? Does this mean that I also have the opportunity to ascend to immortality directly from the immortal platform?" Feng Qingyang was extremely excited. Nangong Tingfeng had really found out. He doesn't want to practice anymore. "Yes, it's just." Nangong Tingfeng hesitated and looked at Zhou Yingxia. "Mom, you don't want to tell her?" Over the past few days, Feng Qingyang has seen that Zhou Yingxia is a cultivator. "I don't want to tell her. But it's a long way to go to Tianyi, and you are only in the pill-forming stage. You can imagine what dangers you will encounter on the way, and my mother was also injured when she was inquiring about the news, so, do you want Zhou Yingxia to escort me?" Feng Qingyang is not stupid. Nangong Tingfeng sighed and said, "The immortal stage is imminent. Mom has made 2 preparations. If you don't succeed in the immortal stage, then stay in Tianyi. Mom will leave a mark for you. When your father arrives at Tianyi, he will definitely can find you." After saying that, she took out her natal spiritual weapon from her arms and stuffed it into Feng Qingyang's arms. "Mom, you..." At this time, Feng Qingyang suddenly remembered that Nangong Tingfeng had previously said that he was injured on the way to escape. At this time, the clothes on his body were stained with blood. "Stop talking," Nangong Tingfeng laughed forcefully and said, "Your father and mother both hope that you can succeed in cultivation, but in this spiritual world, it is difficult to make progress. Thinking about it now, it is a bit wrong. Now, mom can't protect you, so you have to rely on yourself for everything. Maybe I won't be able to hide in this Nine Netherland for long." There is no need to elaborate on the meaning of the words, and Nangong Tingfeng has taken out all his natal spiritual weapons, so it is obviously impossible for him to follow Feng Qingyang. "Mother." Feng Qingyang's heart felt sour, and she shed a tear without knowing it. "In the past, I had only heard from my father how his mother was, but I had never seen her. Later, when they met outside the Demon Moon Forest, Nangong Tingfeng took good care of him. Also, on the way from the mortal world to the spiritual world, Nangong Tingfeng protected him as much as possible to prevent him from getting hurt. My child." Nangong Tingfeng reached out and touched Feng Qingyang's head, and said, "If I hadn't met your father, you would have been staying in the outer world. After all, you are also a righteous monk, and it is another period of pill formation. Come to think of it, no one will make things difficult for you. If you practice slowly, there will always be a chance. Mom is a little tired, please tell Xianxia and let her go to Tianweishan with you." Nangong Tingfeng took out the shuttle again. It was also a spiritual weapon. With Feng Qingyang, it is much faster than walking on two legs. "Mom, I go quickly. If mother recovers, she will look for you. Remember, don't lose mother's natal spiritual weapon, otherwise mother will go to the outer world and there will be nowhere to find you." Nangong Tingfeng sat down on the spot and stopped talking. Feng Qingyang knew that Nangong Tingfeng had made up his mind, and no matter how much he tried to persuade him, it was useless, so he had no choice but to go to Xianxia. "Don't disturb my practice." Xianxia seemed to feel that there was someone beside her, and she uttered an emotionless word. "Xianxia, this place may not be suitable for practicing heavenly book. Let's find another place." Feng Qingyang took a deep breath and said, "Not suitable." When it comes to the Book of Heaven, Xianxia no longer targets Feng Qingyang. "Yes, think about it, the land of Juyu is a place of demons, and we are righteous monks, plus the heavenly book. I think we must go to other places to practice, maybe the heavenly book will be inspired, so that you can see its content." "I see." Xianxia's eyes lit up, and she quickly stood up and grabbed Feng Qingyang's hand. Yes, yes, I'm obsessed, it's the authorities who are obsessed. You are a bystander, so tell me, where would be a better place to go?" Xianxia's eyes were filled with crazy eyes. Tianweishan, Tianweishan must be good. At that time, the righteous monks gathered, I think it will definitely be possible. Tianweishan. Xianxia read it once, and then said happily, it's not easy to hear this name. Heavenly book, heaven beyond heaven. Haha, let's leave quickly. From beginning to end, Xianxia never glanced at Nangong Tingfeng, as if she didn't exist at all. And the wind is clear, and my heart is like a bright mirror at this moment. I started my cultivation by picking up the immortal skills. Author, Banzuan Xianxia. Chapter 900. Heaven Beyond Heaven. The Sword Valley was shaken. Feng Anhe, you despicable branch clan, you dare to steal my Feng Zhen's peerless magic weapon. The voice resounded throughout the Sword Valley, and countless juniors were startled. Feng Zhen did not suppress his emotions at all. With his roar, the majestic sword energy raged through the world and stirred up the wind and clouds. Even some sects and forces a little further away also noticed the movement in the Sword Valley, and were surprised and doubtful for a while. But thinking that Feng Zhen had invited people from heaven beyond heaven and even the Nine Netherworld to come to the banquet, it was not surprising that some conflicts occurred. The sects and forces that had not been there thought that there was a conflict. And those who had been there speculated whether the true dragon wind sword of the Sword Valley had an accident, and they were gloating over it, and it was impossible for them to go to find out. They joined hands to force Tu Cheng to death, and now they wished they could stay in the sect and not go out, so as not to let the people of the Five Elements sect come to kill them, and they would also suffer. Although there is no guarantee whether the people of the Five Elements sect knew about it. But for some things, it is better to take precautions first. It is better to believe it than not to believe it. Come here. After Feng Zhen vented his anger, he called all his clansmen to him and said sternly, all those above the spiritualization stage, search 1,000 miles outside the Sword Valley. Any clues must not be let go. Yes, Patriarch. They all knew that Feng Zhen's true dragon wind sword was stolen, and Feng Anhe was also missing. There was no evidence that Feng Anhe was responsible. But sometimes, evidence is not needed. They can only find Feng Anhe, not only the true dragon wind sword, but also Feng Anhe, and another sword embryo. In the Sword Valley, everyone dispersed, and even Feng Zhen came out in person. In the valley, the strongest person is only in the nascent soul stage. And in an inconspicuous corner, Feng Anhe let out a long sigh. He was extremely fortunate that the painting heaven scroll was still in his hands. At that time, after releasing Sun Qiniang, Feng Anhe was taken away by Feng Zhen. No one noticed the painting heaven scroll, so he took it away. When he wanted to leave, he knew what the consequences would be. It was impossible to escape. Even if he could escape an hour or even a day earlier, he was unfamiliar with the place and it was impossible to escape from the Sword Valley. He would still be caught. He had never taken elixirs and had just come to the spirit world. The pressure of spiritual energy had a great impact on him. So, he did not think about escaping far, but hid in the painting heaven scroll. The painting heaven scroll could completely hide his breath, and he only needed to find a place to hide the painting heaven scroll. The Swordstone Hill on the outskirts of the Sword Valley was a good choice. When leaving the sword refining room, Feng Anhe found that the sword stones here were rugged and full of potholes, so he immediately chose this place. After finding a relatively deep hole that no one could enter, Feng Anhe drilled himself into the Huatian scroll, then controlled the Huatian scroll to roll up and drilled in. Unless someone smashed the hole, he would never be discovered. Huh, you only found out that I ran away now, you really trust me? Feng Anhe was gloating after surviving the disaster. He would wait until the wind sound passed before escaping from the Huatian scroll. But he didn't know how long the wind sound would take. Alas, I thought that I would be welcomed by the head of the family when I returned to the Feng family and brought the sword body to the door, but I didn't expect that Feng Zhen would be such a person. Fortunately, I have the Huatian scroll. After a sigh, Feng Anhe gradually thought of Zuyun in his heart. I should have escaped with him earlier. But thinking about it, it felt wrong. If Zuyun ran again, how could he escape the pursuit of the God transformation period? Thinking of this, he felt less guilty about Zuyun. It seemed that no matter what choice he made, he would die. Only he could survive like this. It is true that those who survive a great disaster will have good fortune in the future. Feng Anhe was finally in a better mood. This good fortune must be the true dragon wind sword. As long as he refines the sword into his own, it will be much easier to find Nangong Tingfeng again. Huatian scroll is also a space magic weapon. Although the space is not large, it is at least stable, and Feng Anhe can move freely inside it. The important thing is that Huatian scroll can also absorb the spiritual energy in the outside air, which makes it no problem for Feng Anhe to practice inside, and naturally he can also do other things. For example, refining the sword. Feng Anhe took out the true dragon wind sword, and then took out Sun Qiniang, who was refined into a sword embryo. To be honest, Feng Zhen's refining technique is not mysterious. The key lies in the sword embryo. In my opinion, there should be consciousness remaining in the sword embryo, which resists the true dragon wind sword, so the two swords cannot be fused together. However, I have collected the sword embryo as my natal magic sword. I don't know if I can erase the residual consciousness in it. Alas, the situation was urgent at that time. If I couldn't control the sword embryo, I couldn't escape here with the spiritual pressure of the spiritual world. I had to do it. Feng Anhe sighed again. If the sword body did not belong to him, it would not be a big deal for him to erase the residual consciousness of the sword body. But now, the sword embryo is his natal magic sword. If it is erased, it will have a great impact on his soul and may even cause serious injuries. If the injury is serious, he may not be able to come out of the painting heaven scroll again. Although the painting heaven scroll can provide spiritual energy, he is at the nascent soul stage after all. The internal space of the painting heaven scroll is not large, and the spiritual energy is not too much. It cannot provide spiritual power continuously for healing. This will also cause his injuries to recover very slowly, and it will undoubtedly take more time. Feng Anhe's concerns are here. Think of another way. This sword may be my only way to escape from the Sword Valley. Time is running out. I have agreed with Ting Feng that it will take 10 years. There is no time in cultivating immortals. 1,000 years will pass in the blink of an eye. Feng Anhe murmured a few times, completely immersed himself in it, and began to think about how to crack it. At some point, 2 golden and white lights flashed on the sword embryo from time to time. While Zhang Daozun took Zuyun to the Savage Sea, the Five Elements sect also sent people there again. A withered old man in the tribulation stage, and some elders in the refining void stage. The sect master was finally able to enter the back mountain and report the situation in the Holy Land. But no one paid attention. The people in the back mountain are at a very high level. So high that the time velocity difference in the Holy Land space has no effect on them at all. To put it in a more selfish way, what does the Holy Land have to do with them? The sect master returned to his sect master hall in a huff. He had no place to vent his nameless anger, so he had to restart the Holy Land and arrange for ordinary disciples to practice according to the original rules. He just told them to pay more attention to the situation in the clouds and mist in the Holy Land. If there is anything unusual, don't stay and choose to leave on your own initiative. Otherwise, if there are casualties, you will bear the consequences. My Five Elements sect is so powerful, but this sect master is so cowardly. Alas, I'd better go to other places in the country to relax. With this state of mind, I can't calm down to practice. The Five Elements sect master explained the matter and left the sect on the grounds of practicing the state of mind. Ancestor, it's really great to have you out. On the way to the sea, Luo Su and Wu Su flattered him hard. Humph, the ancestor snorted lightly, not taking it seriously, and didn't care about these words. He was about to trigger the heavenly tribulation, but it might be because the ascension platform was close, which delayed his heavenly tribulation. No matter how he used his spiritual power, he couldn't sense the heavenly tribulation, and even as time went by, the sense became weaker and weaker. It happened that he encountered something in the sea area, so the ancestor decided to take a look. Whether it was a fairy trace or a fight with the deep sea monster in the sea area, the ancestor had no scruples at all. Looking at the spiritual world, those who can fight him on equal terms are probably rare. Even if there are, they probably don't dare to fight with him with all their strength. He has practiced the Five Elements Chaos Sutra for countless years, and the spiritual power in his body is extremely stable, while other cultivators have some scruples. Luo Su's face was cold, he smiled awkwardly, stopped talking, looked at Wuxu, and concentrated on his journey. He can show off in front of others, but with the ancestor here, he has no qualifications. Just when Zuyun arrived at the seaside, Luo Su and his group also landed thousands of miles away from where they landed. Heh, Dirty thing. The ancestor raised his eyebrows and thought to himself, could it really be a fairy's miracle, so he also lured this guy here?